Hello and welcome to another standard video here in the preview event for Ninja Turtles. Today we're checking out another artifact deck, although unlike the Affinity deck, this is much more of an artifact sacrifice deck as we're building around the new Technodrome, a 2-mana 3/3 with reach and trample, although it cannot attack or block unless its power is 6 or greater, and we can tap and sacrifice another artifact to draw a card and put a +1 counter on Technodrome. So after 3 activations, we'll naturally get to 6 power, at which point we can start attacking and blocking with it, or we can maybe enhance its power using the Chrome Dome, and then it takes fewer counters for Technodrome to be able to attack. The Chrome Dome also pumping up our other artifact creatures, and even has a late game ability for 5 mana to make a token that's a copy of another artifact we control, which we can maybe sacrifice to a Technodrome before it goes away end of turn, so there's even more synergy there. And we've got the full set of weapons manufacturing, and this is our main card that can generate munitions tokens, which are artifacts that when they leave the battlefield deal 2 damage to any target. So these are perfect for sacrificing to our Technodrome, as we now not only draw a card and get a +1 counter, but also get to deal 2 damage, and we can potentially use multiple sacrifice effects to sacrifice multiple munitions in the same turn to even deal with larger threats. Can also use our Legion Extruder to deal 2 damage to any target when it enters, and for 2 mana we can sacrifice another artifact to make a 3/3 Golem token, so that can also function as a sack outlet for our various munitions tokens. We also have the full set of Ravenous Robots to help us go wide and provide more sacrifice fodder, making a robot token whenever we cast an artifact spell. Can also activate the Ravenous Robots to give our tokens haste, which is useful if we made a bunch of 1/1s, or if we maybe extruded a few creatures with the extruder and can immediately attack with those golems as well. And then a Mauser Foundry is not good enough in your traditional Affinity deck, but in a sacrifice deck it's quite good, as it makes a 1/1 robot when it enters and once again when it leaves the battlefield. So that's a total of 3 artifacts we can sacrifice to our various effects, or we can pay 5 mana to deal 3 damage to target creature instead. And then rounding out the deck, we have the Percussionists as a 1-mana artifact creature that we're also happy to sacrifice, as it can provide an extra card for us. Torch a Tower with Bargain can also function as a sack outlet, so we can maybe combine it with the munitions to deal 5 damage to an opposing creature, as well as getting to scry 1. Springleaf Drum also helps us empty out our hand and trigger cards like the Ravenous Robots and the Manufacturing, maybe in the same turn where we cast them, since we do have a lot of 2-drops, so the 1 extra mana from Springleaf definitely helps empty out our hand. And then last but not least, we finally found a great home for Chandra Spark Hunter, which can use the +2 to sacrifice an artifact or discard a card in order to draw a card, so we can use it as yet another sacrifice outlet for our various artifact tokens and munitions. And then it's not too difficult to set up the -7 ultimate, giving us an emblem where now whenever an artifact we control enters, the emblem deals 3 damage to any target, so that's of course going to be incredibly powerful once we get some of these token generators in play. And then we also have 4 copies of Scene of the Crime as an artifact land built into our mana base, since we can often just play it tapped on turn 1 anyways, and then later it can also be sacrificed for 2 mana to draw a card, since it's a clue, but we can also sacrifice it to some of our other effects if that lines up better instead. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the draw. Triple Torch for interaction, and then our Ravenous Robots. Still need some friends to generate some tokens. Not a great hand, I'll be honest, but maybe good enough to try. And then this only triggers when we cast an artifact, unlike the Manufacturing. So I'll play a tapped Scene. Turtle Duck, alright. That does have a lot of toughness, so not the easiest to torch. Play the robots, and next turn we can Technodrome. So our opponent playing a turtle deck. Immutable, also technically a turtle. There's a chance I'll torch something. Gotta watch out for turtle power, giving turtles +2/+2. Now a green shell. attacks, I imagine. Okay. Should I torch the mutable? I don't think so. Technodrome can also sack Scene of the Crime if needed. I would have liked another artifact so I can double torch the green shell before it gets out of hand. I guess I can just sack the robot, sack a scene. Maybe see what I find off Technodrome first. Should have tapped that for a mana. Alright, so the Drune Extruder. Yeah, definitely got punished for not floating mana. But yeah, I guess I just double torch. Setting myself back on mana a bunch. Another Technodrome may not be needed. It's not the worst draw. It still makes a token of Ravenous Robots, and then hopefully we can find a critical mass of artifacts. Pass it back. Another mutable. ×2. Probably want to start pinging those before our opponent plays a turtle power. And then we can still maybe block and use Technodrome. The Mutavaults are getting busy. Oh, they still have 3 mana untapped. Yeah, that's a turtle power if I've ever seen one. So what makes sense? Can block a 2/2 with a 1/1, hope they still go for it, and then sack it to Technodrome, torch something else. Yep. Fall to 7. Chrome Dome does let Technodrome block at least. And then I could still extrude. Or just play another Technodrome, get that going. And I don't think the robots is blocking. Although might still be better than Chrome Dome. Are actually not far from attacking back for lethal, had I given my tokens haste. Mutavaults are getting busy. If they have a second turtle power, we're super dead. Turtle Duck has base power 4 and gains trample. So that would be 6 total. Yeah, so they still trade for Technodrome. Did make some trades at least. And the weapons manufacturing. Alright, so could go manufacturing into robots, or robots maybe activate extruder. I guess Technodrome doesn't block yet, so I may as well sack a Springleaf Drum to it. I'll draw another drum. Robots drum, extrude. Yeah, I think I need the blockers. So Chrome Dome blocks Aegis Turtle. And then I could trade robots for Explorer. And trade my 4-3 for a Mutavault. I guess we sack the Springleaf. That worked. So we might be turning the corner. Scene of the crime triggers manufacturing. Okay, so can extrude, sack of munitions, and deal with elves. Attack with Chrome Dome, since I'm not blocking with it, although they might have some flash creatures, some changelings, you never know. Just play it safe. I'll land. Okay, sacrifice probably a token. I could also sack the scene. Saves me the mana. Another Chrome Dome, alright. We're definitely doing it now. Opponent's at 14. Could attack here. And then even if they have another turtle power somehow, I could still extrude to deal 2 more damage. Alright, it looks like we're gonna live to tell the tale. And then we can probably attack all out. Could also make the fun play of using Chrome Dome to make another Chrome Dome. Cannot target itself, but can target another copy with the same name. And smash. Oof, what a game. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Missing a second land, 2 Chandras or 2 Curve Toppers, so this one's pretty awkward. Take a mulligan. This one I'll try. And then probably need to ditch Chandra, although there's a way to sacrifice the tokens from manufacturing, which I otherwise don't have a way of doing. But if I keep Springleaf, I kind of need to keep Percussionists. We'll find a different sack outlet. Turn 2 manufacturing, maybe turn 3 once again. Opponent could be on ninjas. So, don't hate Extruder, but let's get a manufacturing going first. Ideally draw lanes. Super Shredder we can still take out. So, could start there. Yeah, if I go Percussionist, Drum, I can't do anything else. The only problem now is if Kaito shows up, they'll be able to sneak it into play. They are playing green as well. So at the very least I can extrude the munitions to deal 2 damage. And Scene of the Crime. So that should trigger the manufacturing as well. But I think that's gonna be combined with an extruder activation. and take out my key before they draw. But next turn I'll get to go manufacturing and then maybe Springleaf Drum plus Percussionist, we'll see. A Mutagen Man at 3 toughness, now 4. Will require 2 munitions to be sacrificed, which I currently cannot do, although Ravenous Robots into Drum into Percussionist sounds appealing. So we've got plenty of munitions now, just a matter of sacrificing them. Technodrome would be a great pickup. I already have another extruder in hand, so yeah, next turn we can look into it. Sentinel also has a lot of toughness, and they can immediately sack the map, so that's the synergy with Mutagen Man. And down goes the robot. Another extruder. So yeah, I can play extruder, activate the one in play. It seems fine. Probably deal with the Sentinel first, because they could have another legendary Mutagen Man in hand. Sack munitions. And then next turn I could activate double extruder. Michelangelo for additional +1 counters, can sack the Mutagen for free. Now a 3/3 Siren. And another Ravenous Robots. So yeah, we've got a few options. Could also get aggressive with our 3/3s on the ground. And see where we end up. Also don't mind if the Percussionist ends up dying and maybe finds a land. Okay, so damage happens. Possible they have some hexproof trick for additional +1 counters as well. A death in the family. Could technically sack the golem, but I would rather sack the munitions here. And just kind of clean up. We're still making progress on the board. And yeah, Ravenous Robots also a way to give your Golem tokens haste, so that's another useful interaction. They can destroy my artifact, good to know. But yeah, next turn I could still double activate. So all-out attack, or just a 3/3s can get busy. Opponent's gonna take the trades. Could also cast another extruder here, to be fair. Yeah, that's maybe fine. And play another scene of the crime. Opponent's on empty. Super Shredder, we can shred. And there's the Technodrome at long last, although probably won't last very long. So, manufacturing. Do I even need it? I think we can just and get it over with extruder activations. Alright, opponent's gonna exile the golem once again. We'll let that go, can tap it for mana. And I guess it also grows Super Shredder. So if I respond with another extruder, of course it grows. But I can still finish it off at least. You have to be very careful with Shredder since, yeah, it does grow when we sack our stuff. And down goes the extruder. Opponent up to 13. And a Chrome Dome is not a bad draw. So can attack. And then we could have still activated Extruder on the munitions. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a decent hand. I'm looking for more ways to enable the Technodrome. And we'll have to get Scene of the Crime out of the way. Well, let's see what we're up against. Black-white. So, could wait on this if we suspect some interaction. Go Springleaf Percussionist. But I do want to be able to start sacking my things as well. So we'll try. No requiring Hex end of turn at least. And Splinter we can deal with. So this turn, not really incentivized to play Springleaf, can maybe wait for one of our payoffs that triggers off casting Artifact. Can use Extruder and then just cast a Torch, or I can play Percussionist, sack it to Bargain to deal 3, see what we get off Percussionists that I can still maybe cast. Could also sack the Springleaf to Torch the Tower, tapping Technodrome and not sack anything else. Yeah, maybe that's fine. And I'll keep a Ravenous Robots. So knowing that's incoming, I think I just play this and pass. And 2-4. Can't extrude it. But I can go a Ravenous Robots into Percussionists. And then maybe sack Percussionist in the opponent's turn. Which will then also keep the card in exile until my turn. Okay, Seam Rip probably goes for Ravenous Robots now, which I can sack. Since we're not getting it back. And a Ninja Teen. Okay. Find a backup robots. So now Springleaf looks good. Do I randomly cast the Extruder? I think what I'll try is attack with the 1/1s. And then sack Percussionist to the Technodrome, see what else we can find. Another Extruder, which I can still cast. And then we found the manufacturing, so next turn we should be able to deal with most of the creatures our opponent's going to present. On level 2, they can give a creature 1 extra power and menace. Ooh, a Requisition Raid. Pretty good here, destroying our artifacts. At least they didn't wait to destroy our enchantment with it. So we'll take 3. But now at 5 toughness, it's also a little trickier to take out with our 2 damage effects. Okay, so still go manufacturing. And extruder can go face. And then I want to extrude the munitions perhaps. So I want to keep 1 creature untapped besides Technodrome. They're gonna get lost. In that case, float a mana, sack the munitions to Technodrome, and then extrude Technodrome to the extruder, although getting 2 map tokens is also not bad since there are 2 artifacts. So I could get the maps, and then just sack a 1/1 to make a 3/3. Sure. Take 3 once again. Opponents may be sneaking something now. Indeed, the last Tyronen's technique, making 3 1/1 tokens. Okay, so how do we want to proceed? Play a Ravenous Robots, and then can still extrude twice. This is an attack for 5. So we're getting very close to lethal. Can keep the map tokens around. Do have to watch out for our opponent presenting lethal with the Lord. Can try to double block. And of course munitions can take 1 out. They did have Dark Leo, so yeah, now with Death Touch they get to trade for both our 3/3s. And get a token on defense. But now, especially with the Percussionist, we should still have it. Plus I can also use the Ravenous Robots to give my Extruder tokens haste. And which is pretty neat. So we can clear a path. Alright, sweet. So yeah, fun game here against the Black-White Ninjas. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with functional hands. Still looking for a more reliable sacrifice outlet to enable the manufacturing. And there we have it. So still start with manufacturing, I think. Make as many munitions as possible. And with Torch we can also enable it. Springleaf isn't bad. So then I can still Torch in the opponent's turn if needed. Good for 5 damage thanks to the munitions. A Lightning Helix, 3 damage. No way I can grow it here. Alright, that happens. So we'll need another one of those. For now we're just stockpiling our munitions. Raph and Leo. Okay, and the ravenous robots to draw. I'll just do this now. And don't need scene of the crime. Chandra would be a good draw. More Technodromes, a Legion Extruder. Oh, there's Chandra. Other opponent does now have a 2-3. So I can't easily remove it. But we'll still get Chandra down, I think. +2. Sacrifice an artifact. Could also make it Foundry to make an extra blocker. And pass. So we're just looking to protect Chandra and maybe set up an ultimate. That works. Untap. Cast Foundry. Plus sacrifice Foundry. Trigger manufacturing, and then I could give tokens haste to attack for a bunch. But honestly, we just want to protect Chandra here. So I'll just send in the ravenous robots and the 1/1s. 3 blockers should be enough. Can still sack the scene to draw. Ooh, Catharsis. I guess 3 blockers wasn't enough. So they can go after Chandra. I mean, I can still try to keep her alive. I guess I could still draw Torch the tower and cast it. Another Foundry. But yeah, Chandra would take at least 4 damage. Yeah, this is a toughie. I think I need my Planeswalker. Yeah, just keeping 1 more blocker would have been good enough. Extruder's not bad, so we can deal with Raph. Alright, so we're back in business. Chandra pluses.
Let's shift gears.
And then I still have Extruder, which can extrude, and Foundry, which can make more tokens. Still have the Spring Leaf for a 2nd mana. So I'll just play it safe now in case they have more Catharsis. So now a +1 counter on each creature when they cast a spell. That's scary. Inquisitor's fine. So I can deal 2 at instant speed. I guess I deal with the token still, as opposed to going face. Torch is excellent.
All right, team.
So yeah, we just want to kind of control their board, as opposed to sacking Foundry was also an option. So next turn I can ultimate Chandra. And I could deal with Catharsis right now. Torch with Bargain. Could sack a Foundry now. 2 extra damage is not really necessary. And another manufacturing. Doesn't seem needed, already have 6 munitions. So could activate Ravenous Robots to attack with some hasty golems. But I think I've learned my lesson.
Just try to keep up.
Just gonna chill. And yeah, our opponent's gonna scoop it up before we manage to set up the emblem. But now whenever an artifact we control enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. So that's not gonna take long to decimate their board and eventually take them out between the robots, the manufacturing, and even Foundry and Extruder making additional artifacts. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. I think we have a Keeper. Don't have any of our sacrifice synergies, but we could be off to a quick start with double Ravenous Robots. Our opponent a black-green. And Michelangelo, so +1 counter deck. That one is tempting to torch before it gets too large. Although even a 3/3 Michelangelo we could still torch. So this might be a little greedy. But let's try it. And then now I'm fine trading. Super Shredder, okay. So, opponent's got a pair of 3/3s. And weapons manufacturing, maybe a little late to the party. But let's see here. If I attack... I mean, I can still take out Michelangelo, but then Super Shredder would grow up to a 5/5. So, that's tricky. If I sack Percussionists, we maybe find another useful card. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to take out Super Shredder, so I shouldn't even try. I mean, technically I could attack all out. If they block with Shredder, we can just cast Torch normally to finish it off. Because we can deal damage to it before. Yeah, let's just go to attackers. The only problem is they get to block both the robots, so maybe I just send in the 1/1s. Opponent lets damage happen. And then now I can torch with Bargain. And can still play the Foundry. Chandra's not bad either as a sack outlet. But yeah, we are playing into Super Shredder's ability. But we're also going wide. A Mutagen Man for x = 2. So Shredder can get even bigger. But yeah, at this point we're just trying to swarm them and hope they can deal 20 damage. Opponent attacks, we can trade, so yeah, take 8. Opponent's at 11. So is there any sequence that can present a lethal? Chandra can make a vehicle, and then we can essentially crew it for free, which means our opponent would take 10 fall to 1, and then we die on the way back. So that doesn't quite do it. Yeah, close one. I guess what I can do is attack all out and use Foundry to finish off Mutagen Man, and then I'll be facing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 11 Powered Shredder, so any way to pump it up and I'm dead. Might still be my best play. Sadly, Foundry doesn't go face. So I assume we're dead. Krang and Shredder. Okay, I fall to 1. And now they should be very dead. Wow, super close one here. I'm glad they couldn't find a way to grow Super Shredder once again. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a keepable hand. Hopefully get to activate the Technodrome a few times. Happy to sack the Percussionist. And a 1/1 Death Touch. Alright, Percussionist lines up pretty well. Possible they want this as a sneak enabler. And a backup Technodrome in case they remove the first one. So this is until the end of our next turn, so sure. Worst case would have been exiling our 4-drop. And then now Extruder looks good too. Or I can just go Technodrome number 2, although let's get the Extruder going. At least that I'm willing to maybe sack to a Technodrome. Could do that now, could wait. I'll wait and see. Another Siren. Still fine to torch it. Yeah, I think with another Technodrome, I'm happy to just draw a card. And the Foundry's excellent. So I'll be tapping out next turn. Foundry plus another Technodrome. And this is 2 mana, essentially giving us 3 artifacts we can sacrifice. Opponents had enough of Technodrome, so could still sack it on the way out. Probably don't need the 3 damage mode. Find a drum. And another Extruder. Extruder can also go face here. Send in the 1/1s. And then I can extrude a 1/1. Still activate the Drome. So our opponent trying to set up some sneak synergies. Possible they're on the mill deck with Kitsune's technique. So then we do want to get the game over with. Splinter's technique, yeah, gonna search something up. Although they weren't able to sneak it, so full price. So next turn they could mill half my deck, the turn after they could monument exhaust. So definitely want to make a 3-3. Question is whether I sack anything to the Technodrome. I'm attacking for 5. Yeah, feels like I need to draw something here. Maybe with a Chrome Dome we can let this attack a turn sooner, and there is Chrome Dome. With a Spring Leaf in play, could have also activated the 5-mana ability. Can do so next turn. And then... yeah, just cast this. Attack for 6. And then we've got a few options available here between Extruder and Technodrome. Opponent's gonna take that out, so can make an extra mana and then extrude it. And there's a monument, so yeah, they were on the mill plane. May as well sack the drum. And then Foundry wasn't bad, but we should have lethal as is. So next turn Technodrome would have been able to attack. 3 damage only goes to creatures. But yeah, there we go. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a promising hand. Got all the pieces we need. Just a matter of getting them all in play. Manufacturing to make munitions, and then either Technodrome or Extruder to sacrifice them. Start with manufacturing, and then Technodrome next turn, I think. Opponent on a Turtles deck. And Leonardo. Yeah, should still be able to answer it next turn with the munitions. Especially if we also pair it with an Extruder. Splinters next, so ninjas trigger an additional time. Also applies to Leonardo. So 3-3. Alright, so now it's gonna take 2 munitions to take it out. What's my play here? Technodrome munitions, and then I guess I'll have to use Extruder this turn. Yeah, I think we can deal with Splinter later. Could also maybe set up an ambush if they attack, deal 2 damage, make a 3-3 blocker. Torture Tower could now answer it on the spot. Yeah, let's just play another Technodrome. I think we'll be fine if they get to keep Splinter for a turn. So these are naming mutants. A Zookeeper makes sense. Alright, so we're taking 5, but Zookeeper's not long for the world. Percussionist to draw. And then I can still torch with Bargain. Get rid of Splinter. And our opponent's probably not coming back from this. Play Chrome Dome, so next turn Technodrome can attack. And the opponent's just too far behind. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Have a 1-lander, but couple 1-drops to go with a Spring Leaf. So it might still be okay. Play Percussionist. And then hope to get Technodrome in play next turn. Right, opponent's gonna take out a Percussionist, can still maybe exile a land. That works. Their opponent on maybe a graveyard deck, second Quack Feast. That's too bad. Should have maybe guessed, since they were willing to take out the Percussionist there. Alright, so Spring Leaf doesn't do much. Can maybe save those to trigger some of our artifact payoff cards. Slasher we can exile at least. So I can go Chrome Dome, Spring Leaf, tap Chrome Dome, sack Spring Leaf to bargain. And don't need a third one. Opponent is playing white as well. And Quack Feast number 3. Fourth one in the graveyard. And now Deceit. I'm bouncing Chrome Dome. Okay, I get to go robots into Spring Leaf. And now Bloodletter. So they had the Bloodletter plus Slasher combo. Well, ended up drawing all 4 Spring Leaves. So Chrome Dome, Spring Leaf, can still torch. And we'll use the robots to give our tokens haste. Although then I have to be careful that I still have mana to cast Torch a Tower. So damage happens. And don't need to bargain, can cast it normally. Because we can maybe activate Chrome Dome if we tap 2 creatures to Spring Leaf to copy one of our creatures as well. 5 mana Ritual Chamber to make a demon. And the Legion Extruder. So I can cast it, go face. I mean, I guess our opponent's kind of just dead here. But the plan was to extrude and then give haste to the token, but that might be a little too fancy. And this should still do it. So yeah, this mono-red artifact sacrifice deck has some pretty nice tools to deal with smaller creatures. Once the opponent's creatures get too large, our best hope is trying to chump them with our 1/1s or outracing them. Once those creatures also have evasion or trample, things might get a bit tough. And I can also see this deck struggling against a combo deck that doesn't really care about us dealing 2 or 3 damage, since they can maybe just go over the top and then our removal may not line up. So it definitely has some weaknesses, but overall I've enjoyed my time with a Technodrome, even if it didn't seem like an amazing card at first glance. So that's going to do it for today's gameplay. I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.